Dad and daughter vanish on vacation. 22 years later, the mother receives a shocking letter. The day started like any other. The sun was shining. A warm breeze carried the scent of the ocean, and the world felt peaceful. It was the perfect morning for a vacation, a time for relaxation, adventure, and making memories. But for Sarah Collins, that vacation would turn into a nightmare. She could never escape. She kissed her husband, Mark, and their 6-year-old daughter, Lily, as they packed up for their trip. Mark had planned everything. A week away at a cozy lakeside cabin, just the three of them. It was supposed to be a break from the daily routine, a chance to reconnect as a family. Sarah had to stay behind for work, but she promised to join them later in the week. She never imagined that when she waved them goodbye, it would be the last time she saw them. Days passed, then weeks. Sarah's calls went unanswered. At first, she told herself they were just enjoying their time, maybe out of signal range, but as the silence stretched on, a deep, suffocating fear took hold. Something was wrong. Desperation turned into a frantic search. Police got involved. Search teams combed the area, but there was no trace of Mark or Lily. Their car, gone. Their belongings, vanished. It was as if they had disappeared into thin air. The case baffled authorities. There was no sign of an accident, no ransom note, no evidence of foul play. Friends and family were questioned. Security cameras were checked. And yet, nothing. The world moved on, but Sarah couldn't. Her days became filled with endless questioning, sleepless nights, and an unbearable ache in her chest. What had happened to her family? Were they still alive? Years passed. Hope faded. Friends encouraged her to move on. But how could she? Every time the phone rang, her heart leaped. Every time she saw a little girl with curly blonde hair like Lily's, she had to stop herself from running after her. Then, one evening, 22 years after their disappearance, it happened. A letter arrived in Sarah's mailbox. The paper was slightly yellowed, the handwriting unfamiliar, but as soon as she read the first few words, her hands started shaking. "Mom, it's me. I'm alive." Her breath caught in her throat. It was signed Lily. Sarah's knees buckled. Her mind raced. Could it be? Was this some cruel joke? The police had ruled the case cold years ago. But here, in her trembling hands, was a message from her daughter, the daughter she had lost, the daughter she had grieved. She could barely breathe as she kept reading. The letter revealed something that would shake her to her core. It was the kind of truth that would leave an entire courtroom gasping in shock. But what did it say? And who had really been behind their disappearance all those years ago? Stay with me as we unravel this unbelievable, heartbreaking, and shocking true story. Sarah sat frozen, staring at the letter in her trembling hands. Her mind was racing, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. 22 years. 22 long years of silence, of endless questions, of fearing the worst, and now, out of nowhere, this letter. She forced herself to read the words again, as if trying to convince herself they were real. "Mom, it's me. I'm alive." The handwriting was delicate but unfamiliar. Had Lily written this? Could it really be her? The letter continued, but what it revealed made Sarah's stomach twist. "I've wanted to reach you for years, but I wasn't allowed to. I can't explain everything yet, but please, trust me. I need you to come to me. I need you now, more than ever." There was no return address, only a location scrawled at the bottom of the page. A small town she had never heard of, nearly 1,000 miles away. Sarah's hands gripped the paper tightly. She had spent years imagining every possibility. An accident, a kidnapping, something even worse. But nothing could have prepared her for this moment. The idea that Lily was alive, that she had been out there all these years, unable to reach her, made her feel sick. She grabbed her keys and phone, dialing the only person she could think of, Detective James Monroe, the officer who had worked tirelessly on the case 2 decades ago. He was retired now, but she knew he would listen when he picked up. His voice was slow and careful. "Sarah, is everything okay?" "James," she said, barely able to speak. "I got a letter from Lily." There was silence on the other end. Then, a sharp inhale. "What did it say?" Sarah read the letter aloud, her voice shaking. "Send me a picture," he said immediately. "I need to see it." She took a quick photo and sent it. A few moments later, he let out a low sigh. "Sarah, I don't know what to say. If this is real, then someone has been keeping her from you. Someone wanted you to believe she was gone." Sarah swallowed hard. "Then I have to find her." "You can't go alone," he warned. This could be dangerous. But Sarah wasn't listening. She had spent too many years waiting, hoping, searching. If her daughter was out there, nothing would stop her. That night, she barely slept. The letter sat on the nightstand beside her, its presence both comforting and terrifying. She kept rereading it, looking for hidden meaning, some kind of clue. But all she had was the name of a town, one she had never associated with her husband, her daughter, or their disappearance. As the sun rose, she packed a small bag and started driving. The hours blurred together. Her mind replayed everything, over and over. The last time she saw Lily, the way Mark had smiled as he drove away. Had it all been a lie? Had Mark betrayed her? Or had he been taken too? She arrived in the town just as the sky darkened. It was small, almost forgotten, with a single gas station and a handful of houses. She pulled into a motel parking lot and took a deep breath. Her phone buzzed. A text from James. "Sarah, I did some digging. This town has a history. Strange disappearances. Families that suddenly move and never come back. Be careful." Her stomach clenched. What had she walked into? But before she could respond, she saw something out of the corner of her eye. A figure standing across the street. A woman, barely visible under the dim streetlight. And then, as if sensing her gaze, the woman took a step closer. Sarah's breath caught in her throat, because even though 22 years had passed, she would have recognized those eyes anywhere. It was Lily. Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes as she stumbled out of the car. "Lily!" The woman flinched, glancing around nervously. "Mom, please," she whispered. "We have to go. Now." Sarah didn't understand, but the urgency in Lily's voice sent a chill down her spine. Then, from the shadows, a car engine roared to life. Someone was watching them, and before Sarah could react, Lily grabbed her hand and ran. Sarah didn't hesitate. She gripped Lily's hand tightly, her heart pounding as they ran down the darkened street. The car behind them revved, its headlights flashing like a warning. Someone was coming, someone who didn't want them to leave. Lily's breathing was ragged. "This way," she whispered, pulling Sarah toward a narrow alley. They slipped into the shadows, pressing against the cold brick wall, listening as the car rolled past, its tires crunching against the gravel. Sarah turned to her daughter, taking in her face the same bright eyes, the same delicate features, now aged by time and hardship. "Lily, what's going on? Where have you been?" Her voice cracked. "What happened to you and your father?" Lily swallowed hard, glancing over her shoulder before answering. "Mom, Dad lied to you. He wasn't who you thought he was." Sarah felt the words hit her like a punch to the stomach. "What?" Lily hesitated, her fingers twisting together. He planned it, Mom. He planned the whole thing. He took me away on purpose. The world around Sarah seemed to spin. No, that's not possible. Mark loved you. He loved me. Lily's expression darkened. He didn't take me to a cabin. He took me somewhere else, somewhere far away, and he told me you didn't want me anymore, that you were happy without us. Sarah's knees nearly buckled. That's not true. I never stopped looking for you. Lily's eyes filled with tears. I know. I found out the truth a few years ago, but I was trapped. He changed our names, kept us hidden. I was too young to understand at first. But when I got older, I realized he didn't take me for my safety. He took me so you could never have me again. Sarah couldn't breathe. The man she had loved, the man she had trusted, he had stolen their daughter and erased their lives. Where is he now? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Lily exhaled shakily. Gone. He got sick last year. Before he died, he finally told me everything. That's when I started looking for you. But there are people, his people, who don't want me to leave. They've been watching me, making sure I don't reach you. Sarah suddenly understood. This wasn't just about Mark. There was more. A secret, a lie that had been buried for years. And someone was still trying to keep it hidden. A noise echoed behind them. Footsteps. Close. Too close. Lily grabbed Sarah's hand again. We have to go. They ran. Through the narrow streets, past dimly lit houses, their shadows stretching under the flickering streetlights. Sarah didn't know where they were going, only that she would follow Lily anywhere if it meant keeping her safe. Finally, they reached a small bus station on the outskirts of town. Lily hesitated, then reached into her jacket and pulled out another letter. One just like the one Sarah had received. I wrote this for you in case I never made it. To you, it explains everything. Sarah took it, her fingers trembling. Lily looked at her with pleading eyes. I can't stay here, Mom. It's not safe. I have to leave before they find me. Sarah shook her head. No, you're not running anymore. You're coming home with me. Tears spilled down Lily's face. Are you sure? Sarah pulled her daughter into her arms, holding her tighter than she ever had before. I lost you once. I won't lose you again. The sound of sirens cut through the air. Flashing red and blue lights filled the street. Sarah turned to see a familiar figure, stepping out of a police car. Detective Monroe. His face was grim, but when he saw Lily, his expression softened. We got your message, he said. It's over. The people who had been watching Lily, the ones who had tried to keep her silent, were finally caught. Sarah would never have to fear losing her again. As they sat in the back of the police car, Lily leaned her head against Sarah's shoulder. I thought I'd never see you again, she whispered. Sarah kissed the top of her head, her heart full, for the first time in over 2 decades. You're home now, she said, and nothing will ever take you away from me again. The night was still dark, but for the first time in 22 years, Sarah could finally see the sun rays.